This is groundbreaking news just coming across our desk right now. Daniel DC Cormier injured, pulls out of UFC 197 against recently jailed John Jones. John Jones was recently released out of prison because of five citations, the major one, the drag racing, and he was released under special conditions, 60 hours community service, permission from the probation officer, anger management, and then the devastating, horrific news we found out today. Daniel DC Cormier is pulling out of this fight. It's not going to take place now between these two individuals, and it was one of the most anticipated fights of the year, and it sucks when that happens. And you know what? One man who said that he would join us today despite his schedule, despite the time, is the one and only, the best MMA analyst on YouTube today, Tommy Razorstein. And we're going to get into this article to get his opinion and the fans' opinion, because a lot of people are upset and they are in disbelief that a fight of this magnitude, that was what we've known today, was going to continue to happen after John Jones' release, now will not happen after his release, because Daniel Cormier suffered an injury. And we reported that Daniel Cormier was limping a week ago at an event. It was reported, and we were just hoping that that was not going to be true of Daniel Cormier being injured. Let's go to Fox right now, sports. Light heavyweight champion Daniel DC Cormier has suffered an injury that will force him out of the main event at UFC 197 against John Bones Jones. Sources close to the situation confirmed Cormier's injury to Fox Sports on Friday following an initial report from BJPen.com. I want to give a shout out to Candace and Tommy from the Bronx. Both individuals informed me of this information very, very quickly. Rumors surfaced a week ago that Cormier suffered some sort of leg injury and he was spotted limping at a wrestling tournament. According to the sources, Cormier suffered an injury to his shin and will ultimately be forced out to make the call to pull out of the highly anticipated rematch against John Bones Jones at UFC 197 on April 3rd, live from the MGM Grand, Las Vegas. Well, it's not going to be live now. UFC officials have not made any confirmation about Cormier's injury or if they will look to replace him with a new opponent to face Jones in 3 weeks. If they did, it possibly would be for an interim title. Jones already has faced a tumultuous week after being arrested following a probation violation that landed him in jail for 2 days until he was released on Thursday. Following his release, UFC officials confirmed that Jones still would compete at UFC 197, but with Cormier out, there's no word if the fight will even take place at this point. Jones hasn't fought since beating Cormier on January 3rd, 2015. Jones was arrested in April 2015 after being involved in a hit and run. He was stripped of the UFC championship belt and eventually suspended. Cormier replaced Jones at UFC 187, and he beat Anthony Rumble Johnson for the title. Jones was reinstated by the UFC in October, and the rematch with Cormier was announced earlier this year. We're finding out that this match is not going to take place. Tommy Razorstein has joined us live, and we want to hear your opinion, Tommy Razorstein. This is breaking, earth-shattering, groundbreaking, jaw-dropping news that we did not expect after all of what has occurred already.
All right, remember when Cain Velasquez dropped out against Fabricio Verdum?
Yes.
And then Fabricio Verdum dropped out against Stipe Miocic. And Stipe Verdum actually got a lot of criticism for dropping out against Stipe, which I think was not that big of a deal as Cain dropping out of the fight. And I think this goes hand in hand with DC and Cain talking to each other, saying, you know what, you don't match up well against John Jones, and if you let John Jones just be himself, he's going to end up in jail anyway. So call out of the fight. Within 6 months, Jones will get arrested anyway, and he'll be back in jail, or he'll be facing charges, or he won't be allowed to fight, or whatever the situation is. He'll be back in court dealing with some bullshit that he has to deal with. So, I think that this is a game plan of avoiding Jones, not fighting Jones, And DC keeping his belt longer. I'm not saying that DC's a pussy, but he just can't beat this guy, and DC doesn't want to give up his belt. Um, Maybe he is hurt, right? But what do I always say? And I say this almost every fucking week, Don, because every week someone calls out of a fight. There should be some kind of rule where you have to do some kind of swimming 6 months, 6 weeks before the fight. You're not allowed to in the gym. You have to do every single thing in a pool. Now, if you want to wrestle in a pool and practice, wrestling takedown and all sorts of breathing techniques, which is very helpful. If you want to shoot in on somebody, it really helps well when you're doing it in a pool and you're holding your breath and you're using technique and using how to balance and angle in a pool and swimming and aerobics and all that stuff in a pool. I think all that shit should be done in a pool 6 weeks before a fight. There should be all sorts of things, aquatically done instead of, hardcore fucking training in a gym. I mean, you can push yourself fucking hard swimming. You know what I mean? You can swim fucking for hours and hours and hours, exhaust yourself and push yourself and work on breathing and, build up your endurance and all that stuff too. So I don't know why there can't be some kind of rule set in place where you have to be in a pool 6 weeks before the fight. And if you break your leg in a pool, you have to explain to the fans and to Dana White how the fuck you broke your leg in a pool. I mean, you never hear of Michael Phelps calling out of a swimming competition, do you? You just don't hear swimmers saying, "Well, I can't do this." I mean, they have shoulder problems, but hardcore fucking swimming. But for the most part, swimmers and divers, they don't have these fucking problems. And I think, like, someone like Jose Aldo should not have been able to call out a fight and should explain to the fans, listen, yeah, I guess I was working too fucking hard, and it was, hardcore fucking training that caused an injury, and I had to pull out of a fight. So every fucking time you hear of someone pulling out of a fight because of an injury, now you gotta say, is it real or is it not real? For the most part, it's real. There are a couple occasions and stuff, and this may be one. I think Cain Velasquez pulling out of a fight against Fabricio Verdum was definitely one. And DC may have been hurt, may not have been hurt, but I think there should be a penalty set in place, some guidelines, some rules set in place. Like, okay, it's not mandatory, but you know what? You got to explain to everyone how the fuck you got hurt and why the fuck this happens all the time. It happens all the time. It's freaking annoying. And like John Jones, Jesus Christ. I mean, he never pulls out of a fight for an injury. It's only for, because he can't fucking not drive like a lunatic. He has to drive like a complete lunatic and get arrested for that shit. He doesn't pull out of a fight because of an injury. It's crazy.
You know what, Tommy? I'm not objecting your idea that you had the last video of them two fighting in the prison like two wild beasts. I think they should have just let them fight in the damn prison because at least we would have got to see something. You know what, Razor Stein? You are on to something. Listen. John Jones has made it through hell and high water, drag racing allegedly, behind bars, all types of stipulations with his personal life. And Daniel Cormier, at the point you would feel that he would fight John Jones at his weakest, pulls out of the fight because of an injury, something that was speculated over a week ago. What are these guys doing, Razor Stein? Daniel Cormier is a champion. He's been training for years to pull out of a fight of this magnitude, and him be a commentator just makes everything that he stands for look like total garbage and shit.
Yeah, it's crazy too.
He's the one that was supposed to be the good guy. And now he's gonna look like the bad guy.
They both are bad guys, looking like bad guys right now.
Wow, they're both just. That's why you say they should be in the jail.
DC's not that bad, but DC's acting like an idiot right now, I
Yeah.
think.
Tell
I
me
think he's
about
acting like a
it.
knucklehead. You
I'm
know, he's saying, no, Jones is holding me against the cage. Well, it's your job to fucking, clear
oh,
distance
you
away
mean
from
like
the
the
cage.
Herb Dean
You're a fucking, you're the Greco-Roman wrestler. You should be able to fucking, manage your space. You have a problem with someone grabbing you, pressing you against the cage? What? Like you work with Cain Velasquez, who presses people against the cage every single day, and you have a problem with someone pressing you against a cage? Okay, whatever. That sounds like a bullshit reason why you lost a fight, but whatever. I mean, I still like the guy, but now you're injured. Oh God, it happens every time. Right before the fight.
Razor
It's
Stein. We gotta put this on the table.
I would love to talk to Dana White and they tell him, there should be some kind of aquatic training. And aquatic training should be mandatory 6 weeks before the fight.
Maybe there should be fines put in
To
place.
a
Maybe there
fucking
should be.
pool and train in a pool.
Razor Stein. I
There
gotta
should be
say
some
this
kind
right
of way to
in
do it.
this time frame. Listen, do you just postpone the fight entirely? Because when I look at the top 10 in the light heavyweight division, a lot of these guys have faced each other. It seems like this fight should just be postponed. Do you agree with that, or do you throw somebody else in there, like an Anthony Johnson or something like that? I know you don't want to destroy this rematch.
Oh, I want to see Anthony Johnson. That looks like a good fight. I like that fight.
So you're saying right now, Razorstein, that you will put this rematch in jeopardy by putting Anthony Johnson in the octagon with John Jones. Will it be for interim title?
Yeah, sure. Interim title. Sounds good.
With
I don't
Anthony
care about titles sometime. I care about matchups. I care about, like who can beat who stylistically. Who gives who a problem stylistically. I don't really care about like the drama and crazy bullshit of, hyping up the fight sometimes. I care about how things match up stylistically and really looking at technique. That's what I care about. Not so much the drama of the hype to fight. I care about, who matches up with who, and I want to see how that's going to work out and pan out.
Did you feel that DC could have taken a opportunity to beat John Jones with all of these potential distractions?
He had an opportunity, and if there was a good time to beat John Jones, it was now. While he's dealing with all his legal shit, he could really go after him and say, you know what, Jones, I've been working hard, being the champ while you've been fucking around in jail, dealing with court shit and dealing with
Well,
all
that
sorts of
can be
legal
reverse
problems.
Razor.
Who
That
the fuck
can be
insures John Jones? I mean, I would love to know what car insurance John Jones has.
I know, I understand that, but right, what I have to put on the table now is that can be reversed. John can say, "Look at me, I've been to jail, I've had legal problems, I'm showing up to fight. You simply all you had to do was show up, and now you're suffering from an injury. DC, you're not a true champion. I am the true champion, and the people will go with Jones because they've been going with Jones recently, despite him cursing out the cop. Jones is the one who's being cheered these days, and DC is the one looking like a clown.
He's looking like a knucklehead, but Jones is a complete idiot, dude.
Uh-huh.
I mean, Jones is killing Jones. DC can't beat Jones, but Jones is just destroying Jones.
Can
That's
you
all that is.
elaborate on this? Because
What?
I really did like your idea what you were saying. You were saying that DC's potential game plan with Kane is to postpone the fight, and we know that John is living on the edge already and about to fall off. The potential of him getting in some type of trouble is high before they fight again.
Yeah, I mean, people want to. keep what they have and maintain what they have. They don't want to lose more, and DC will lose more if he fights Jones. I just don't see him beating Jones at all. He just doesn't have the technique. He's getting older. He's lost his speed. He can't beat Jones, man. It just isn't happening. So it's pointless to keep explaining how and why he can't beat John Jones, but that's the truth.
Well, you know what I say, Tommy? I had John Jones winning the fight. I felt that DC could have possibly exploited something with all the distractions. Unfortunately, DC will not be able to do that. This bout will not take place. I would put Anthony Johnson in there, as you said, for the interim title if Johnson could be prepared to fight John Jones in this short amount of time. If not, he shouldn't take. If he cannot take a fight, if they cannot get a replacement, then I would look to put DC Daniel Cormier back in there. We don't know how serious this injury is. I could understand what you said, Tommy. I believe that this is a serious injury. This is not April Fool's joke, but this definitely decreases the stock in DC really, really badly. Especially when we thought that he was going to do everything in his power to make sure that this rematch takes place because he felt that he was going to be able to win this. Now, without it taking place, it makes DC look like a guy that just could not get all his ducks in a row against a man that was severely distracted and should not even been entering this fight. It makes John Jones look like the good guy, to be honest, even after cussing this cop out.
Uh, John Jones is still the bad guy, but DC doesn't look like
The
the
hero.
strong.
He doesn't look like the shining knight.
No, he doesn't.
Wow. And
And I like,
you're just
but
that yourself.
but he's taking a book, a page out of Floyd Mayweather's book. You know what I mean? How to stay the champ.
Wow, because that's what it's about, isn't it?
Some people, yes,
But with
but
a
maybe he
potential
really is hurt. I don't know. But my point is this:
what?
to avoid all speculation and bullshit about who's injured and who's not. You know what I mean? Because maybe he really truly is hurt. And if I broke my leg, I wouldn't want to fight somebody. You know
Hmm.
what I mean? So I don't. It's something really difficult to deal with when you have a real bad injury and you got to fight somebody. So there should be some kind of mandated rule where you have to be aquatically training and not, in a gym, fighting. So I'm going to start, questioning Dana White, and that's who I question now.
One thing that you said that you would never do.
Yeah, I would like to. I would love to question him. I'd love to ask him that question. Can you put in mandatory aquatic training 6 weeks before the fight?
You know what, Tommy? You, the fans are on the edge of their seat. They were waiting for this fight. What would you tell them on why this fight is not taking place?
Uh, DC's either punking out or he's seriously hurt. I don't want to speculate on someone being injured or not. I really don't want to do that.
Yes.
That's not what I like to do. I like to try to solve a problem, and I come up with different, unique, creative ideas to solve problems
Yes, you
that
do. You
aren't
do.
talked about. And that's what you hear, with us is
Yeah.
we say shit that you don't hear. You don't hear other people talking
That,
about aquatic training 6 weeks before the to the same conclusion over and over
yeah.
and over again. Either A, the person's really injured and can't fight, or B, they're backing out. And there must be another way to solve this problem instead of just saying, well, the person's either a pussy or they're fucking hurt. And I really would love to see a plan C, an option C of saying, you know what? You shouldn't be allowed to pull out. If it's all set up like this, you shouldn't be allowed to pull out. You really have to explain yourself why the fuck you pulled out. Not like, well, I got injured. Well, how did you get injured? You know, You really have to explain yourself if you get injured in a fucking pool. I mean, if you're playing with your friends and you're jumping off the diving board and you're crashing into each other in the pool, yeah, maybe you get hurt. Or you smack each other against the side of the pool, playing and hanging out. Okay, I get it. But if you're training and you're taking it serious, you're seriously not trying to get hurt, and you're just seriously focused on training, you shouldn't get hurt. How come no one fucking does this? They have all sorts of health clinics or health advisors and nutritionists, but no one does this thing. No talk about injuries. All sorts of things about how to lose weight and what you should or should not eat. Advanced nutritionists, great ways to lose weight, lose water. All this stuff. Nothing about injuries and avoiding injuries. Nothing. That's my spiel, Don. That's what I want to talk about.
With Tom, you know what? The last thing I will add is this is a disappointment. This is a real travesty. The build up, the finances, the promos, the outside, distractions, the gel, for all of that to take place. And then we find out that Daniel Cormier has to pull out of the fight. Leaves it all in vain. It's very, very sad to me. They can put in someone else, have an interim title, but you know what? This was about that was supposed to take place, and unfortunately, DC is not going to be able to participate in that bout because of an injury, and I think it hurts him very, very badly because of the magnitude of the event, Tommy. Just like you said, for Tommy Razorstein, the Don Juan Banks, we apologize to all the fans because this fight will not be taking place. Peace.
Peace.